As Michelle Kennedy joins us live in the newsroom with this story. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. The 23-year-old offensive lineman was apparently praying with the team in the locker room when another player noticed Harrion collapsed. Thomas Harrion.
Longtime KRON 4 viewers may remember reporter Michelle Kennedy. She worked here at KRON 4 from 2005 to 2008, and a lot has happened since then. Michelle has taken her journalism experience to the classroom, working with students at San Francisco State and the Academy of Art. She's also written a new book about what happened to her when she went through one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. And Michelle joins us this morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking at that video. I look so young.
We all did back then, didn't we? Let's talk about that traumatic experience that you had to experience, the death of your father, but beyond that, you actually saw it.
Yes, I was working as a reporter at a station in Sacramento many years ago, and I came in knowing there was a huge car accident that had closed down both sides of I-5 in Sacramento, and I was told I would go to do live shots at the scene, and we were waiting for a reporter to come back from the scene to sort of see her video first. And in the meantime, I was looking at a monitor of a live shot from another station, and the reporter said a duck hunter from the small town of Lodi died in the accident, and there was ducks all over the freeway. And I got this really horrible intuition that that was my father, who was an avid duck hunter and was from Lodi. And eventually the video came back, and I did recognize his truck, and obviously it was horrible and shocking.
What a horrific experience, and after several years of processing this, you reacted by saying, I've got to drop everything. I need to take this trip around the world. Why?
I held on to my grief for many years. I had no idea how to deal with it. At that time, when that whole thing happened with the accident and being on the other side of the news, watching pictures of my dad on the news, being on the other side of it was awkward for me, was hard for me.
Yeah, there's a photo of you with your dad.
Yes, that's me when I was graduating 8th grade. Anyway, it changed my perspective, and I started to think about getting out of news, but I was very afraid to let go of it because I was so attached to it.
Sure, of course.
So, yeah, it took me many years, and it was a matter of literally putting all of my stuff in storage and saying, I need to get out of here, I need a break, and I left for 6 months.
What are some of the adventures that stood out in that 6-month trip?
Let's see. I went with my best friend Shannon, and she is very funny and very fun. So there she is. There's us. First adventure, those kind of ratty clothes we're wearing. We landed in Costa Rica first. They sent our luggage, unfortunately, to Honduras. And so we had those tank tops and those sweatpants for many days before our stuff came. And there's a scene in the beginning.
A little ripe, eh?
Yeah, there's a scene in the beginning of the book where we go swimming, and we are these liberated women on this trip and take our bras off. And you'll have to read about it in the book, but I lost my bra in the surf. So I just had that tank top. Thank God it was black. And so I was very free. I was very free from the beginning on this trip.
Yeah,
yes, in a lot of ways, Marty.
Yes. As you go through the 6-month trip, you're trying to work through the grief and unanswered questions in the relationship with your dad. Did you find that it helped?
It did. To be completely honest, when I left, I knew I had to deal with the grief, but I was kind of hoping, I think a lot of people when they go to travel hope they can leave everything at home.
Yeah.
That obviously didn't happen. It was this concept of being very still with it and being very forced to face it. So I could not escape it at all. So I've always been a writer, and I started to write, and all of this stuff came out about my father and a very high and low relationship that was very unresolved. When somebody dies, especially a parent, and you're 24, what do you do with that?
Exactly.
How do I resolve these feelings that I might have about it? And so writing really helped me to go down into the depths of pain around it, and then eventually find these really beautiful parts of our relationship as well.
I have to ask you, the title of the book is Don't Pee in the Wetsuit. Where did you get the title for your book?
So Shannon and I were on a cave tour in New Zealand. We were looking for glowworms. It's this awesome, interesting experience. You have to get in this very heavy wetsuit. That's the picture of us on the cover of the book wearing the wetsuits.
Yeah.
And they said, don't pee in the wetsuits. And there's that's part of that tour. That's the Funyak portion where we are blowing up the Funyak. That's me under all of that. And anyway, we did pee in the wetsuits because it was a 5-hour tour. And when we got back, there was this whole thing that happened of people ripping these wetsuits off and a stench that you could never imagine.
Sure.
It's nothing like peeing in a wetsuit here in California, unfortunately. So that's where that story came from. It was very funny, and you'll find out if we got in trouble if you read the book.
All right. All right. Well, you got the title of the book. Where can people find it?
It's available on Amazon, paperback, Kindle, and then it's available in different stores throughout the Bay Area, including Green Apple, Alexander and Company, and Bookshop on West Portal.
All right. Michelle, it's great to see you. Thanks for sharing your adventures with us in this book.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be